Well, welcome to our first ever TOG Talk. We'll see how many times I'll say that. It's very hard to say, but I like the branding for it. So I'm here with two folks that I've never met in person, but we've had a lot of conversations online, and I'm really excited about having a chat with you, especially because I've been following your work for a long time now, and commenting on stuff and having side conversations on Facebook and whatnot, but here to officially get to know each other a little bit better through this conversation. And really excited to hear about your experiences and your knowledge that you can share with the audience here. So with that, we're going to start off with just some introductions. So introduce yourselves for me and maybe a little bit about your backgrounds.
Sure. I'm Erica.
And I'm Jake.
We are Pittsburgh wedding photographers. We've been doing it for almost 12 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, almost 12 years. Time flies.
It does.
Yeah.
So are you Western Pennsylvania born and raised, and let's start off with the personal side. How did you guys meet each other?
Sure. So,
well, that's a good story.
Yeah. We went to high school together. Never talked though. So we went to a super small high school. My graduating class, I think I had 66 people in it. So
I think mine was less. I think it was like 50 something.
Yeah. So we knew each other, but never really talked much. We were two years different. You were 2 years ahead of me. And I got into photography my senior year of high school. And then you went to school for visual arts.
Visual communications, yeah.
Yeah, and so I kind of just, started dabbling into photography with my friends for senior pictures, and I always really liked just taking candids of my friends. So I signed up for the yearbook before I could even take the class. I was like, I want to do this. I'll do it after school anytime you need me to. So just always had my camera on me, always just taking pictures of my friends and family and just life.
So formally trained. Informally trained?
Yes. So self-taught, but mostly from him because,
Yeah, it's a funny story how we actually met, because I was going to school for visual communications, which with a main focus of graphic design.
Okay.
And I was going to start like a graphic design business, and I wanted some headshots. So then I contacted her.
Yeah, so this was after we had graduated high school. I went off to college, and he reached out to me and he was like, hey, I'm graduating and I need some headshots for my website, and would you be interested? And I'm like, sure, that sounds great, We set up the session and everything, and then we started talking, kind of a little bit more personal, and then he's like, do you want to go to dinner with me? And I'm like, okay, sure. And everybody's telling me, they're like, Erica, he's asking you on a date. I'm like, no, it's just a business meeting. He does not like me like that. I seriously thought it was all business, even to the point, when he came to pick me up. I'm like, it's not a date, it's not a date. So yeah, we went out to dinner and we just really hit it off. I don't even think we talked about photography or business at all during that time.
No.
You didn't ask the critical question, Nikon versus Canon.
No.
No.
To tell you the truth, she never did those headshots of me.
Yeah. Yeah, so it went so well, and
It might have been a ploy, right?
Yeah, I found out at least a year later that he never really wanted the headshots, but if they happened, that was just a bonus. Brilliant.
I don't know if we can get to. Okay, we gotta hold on.
So I'm hanging out with her.
That. It's not encouraged. We're not giving that as advice here today. But.
Don't lie, no.
So I'm hanging out with her in her dorm, and it was a Canon camera that she had. And I'm really interested in it, so I'm playing around with it, and I'm like, I think I really like this, and I just started getting more into it and more into it. I worked at Best Buy at the time, so I was all around technology. It was my favorite job, to be honest, just selling technology, and I was playing with cameras, and there was a Nikon that was for sale, and it was a D90, DSLR. And they sold it to me for about $400, and that's way off what the retail price was back then. So then that's how we got into the Nikon cameras, and we've been with them ever since.
Yeah.
So, Erica, it was for fun with friends at first, but when did you know that it was going to be something you wanted to pursue as a business or pursue as a money earning opportunity?
Sure. I think it just naturally came to me. I really enjoyed taking my friends' senior pictures. So I kind of got into the business aspect around that time, I would say. And then I just really enjoyed it and didn't want to stop. So definitely my senior year of high school, that's when I started to really dig into the business side of it and start to make money off of it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then when did the official partnership, or was it always a tag team with photography, or was it Jacob came in later into the mix, or how did that work out?
I would say a little bit later.
I kind of started mostly just myself for a little bit, but we actually opened E&J Photographers 2 months after dating. So literally 2 months after meeting each other, we're like, let's start a business.
Let's start a business. It's like all backwards, pretty much.
Yeah.
We're like,
it was backwards.
but it was cool. It was meant to be, you know?
Yeah. And here we are 12 years later. Yeah.
So did you start off in weddings, and if not, how did you kind of evolve into doing weddings?
Yeah, so in college, I got a job working at Picture People. So it was a studio inside of the mall, and kind of just taking more like kid pictures and families, that kind of stuff. And I met this wonderful woman named April. She was my manager, and she believed in me from the very beginning. Like, my work probably wasn't the best, but she was like, "You're amazing, like, I love you." So once I kind of got out of college and him and I started our business, didn't really know what direction I wanted to go with photography. Like, I didn't find my niche at that point. And I was kind of talking to her about it, and she's like, "I'm gonna do this wedding for a friend. Do you want to shadow me and come along and just see if you like weddings?" So I was like, "Sure, I have no idea what I'm getting myself into, but okay." And we shot together, and I had a great time, and it just really reminded me of when my grandma used to take me to weddings, and we'd just like be dancing on the dance floor and having a great time. And I think I just fell in love with weddings at that time, and we just naturally kind of took off on it. Like, we never even sat down and was like, "Do you want to do weddings?" It just kind of like unfolded.
So
and
no
just
strategic plan, business development session where you're like, "Okay, this is the niche, this is an open market, and there's less people in this, and there's good money." You're just like, "Oh, it's just."
we were very young.
Yeah, I mean, when we started our business, I was what, 19?
Yeah, I was 21.
And I never sat down and was like, "Okay, we're gonna do this and this." Nope, it just naturally unfolded and really just took off from the beginning.
And me, like, I was always a creative person growing up, like always drawing when I was a young kid. And I knew I wanted to do something, with creativity. So, and capturing the wedding, like our first wedding that we captured with you, I fell in love with it instantly, like just capturing the moments and everything.
Yeah.
So weddings is one of those things where it's probably one of the more high-pressured shooting environments of any niche of photography.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you feel that still to this day, or is that kind of worn off over the years because you're like, now we're grizzled pros of this now? So.
A little bit of both, huh?
Yeah, there's times, there like before the wedding, there's the nerves go up sometimes. It's all natural.
You feel like a newbie all over again.
Which is totally normal.
Yeah.
But yeah, we definitely have a flow state now.
Yeah. But weddings, you never know what you're gonna experience. You go into the day and it's like, okay, what kind of lighting are we gonna have? What kind of situations? Is it, how's the schedule gonna go? So
you have to be very adaptable.
Yeah.
I hope it's sunny, but then it's overcast.
Yeah.
It's not gonna rain, but it's Pittsburgh, so it's not gonna rain.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much working with the environment too.
Yeah.
Like if it's raining, there might be a creative way to capture that and to tell their story.
Yeah. It's a lot of thinking on the go.
So do you think it's one of the things that really is important for, if you look at how to succeed as a wedding photographer? Is it that something that can be adaptable and think on their feet? Is there things like just patience or communication skills? What do you think are some of those core skills that are important to be successful in being a wedding photographer?
I'd say all of what you just said for sure. Yeah.
Very adaptive, thinking on the go. Your communication skills have to be good. You have to listen, patience.
And work really well under pressure because things are go, go, go.
It's fast.
Nonstop.
It's super fast.
And not just is it go, 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 but you're also dealing with so many different lighting conditions all at the same time, and then talking to people and still being, upbeat, and it's a lot.
And you're doing inside a dark church, and then you're outside in the sun, and then you're at a wedding the reception venue, it's
Yeah.
probably radically different, but has dramatic lighting of some sort probably, right? And
Yeah.
that's a lot of change.
Yeah, and then working with other vendors who are trying to get their jobs done and keeping on their timelines and
And
yeah,
there's the bane of all wedding photographers' existence. This thing.
yeah,
Leaning on the
yes,
Don't do that.
yes. Not even
Play at a wedding.
not even just that though. We see people with iPads, so you got this like 10-inch like thing in front of them.
And you're like, meanwhile, this has a better camera in it than the iPad does.
Yeah,
Exactly, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna have to revert to my list here because
Yeah.
I've already taken us probably way off track from where I was originally going to take us. But what do you think? What's it like as a couple being in a photography business together, and then specifically for weddings? Like, what are the pluses and minuses? More so the pluses, but.
Well, we got to the point where we can read each other's minds. You know, telepathic communication
Pretty much, yeah. Like I'll be on one side of the dance floor, he'll be on the other, and if he needs me to move the light, like I can just see it in his mind. Like that's where I need to go with it.
Yeah, we work
That's
very
pretty
well
cool.
together. There's no one else I'd ever want to do it with.
Yeah, me too. It helps that you have a guy and a girl, so you know I like to stick with the brides and her bridesmaids while they're getting ready, and then he ventures off to hang out with the guys and get them getting ready. So that's cool because you can really see your
Yeah.
wedding from, you know, every perspective.
I imagine too, like, there's a lot of wedding photographers will hire second photographers.
Yeah.
But in this case, you guys have that second kind of built in.
Yeah,
Package deal.
exactly. Yeah,
Package
Do
deal.
you ever alternate on who's like the first and who's the second, or is it pretty split on like what you're doing for the day, or is?
I would say it's pretty much equal. Sometimes, yeah.
I would say 50-50. It's nice because like when we're doing the family pictures after the ceremony, I kind of set my camera down and I focus on posing the family and getting everybody up and making the pictures happen while he's the one shooting.
Nice.
And then, you know, I fix the dresses and, you know, direct, all right, bring your flowers down to your belly buttons.
Yeah, it's a good coordination, especially
Yeah.
with speed, because she's working on posing, I'm working on, you know, making sure the exposure and everything, the framing's all good, so it works pretty well.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you're unique individuals, so you probably each have your own unique eye when it comes to photography and composition
Yeah.
and whatnot. But it's probably still easier as a couple than having an outside second shooter, or maybe
Yeah.
the second shooter changes all the time based on their availability, to have that kind of built-in duo.
Yeah, definitely. I would say that that's probably the only, and it's not even a con, but I feel like sometimes our creative eyes can kind of, we're usually on the same page with what we want, but you know, sometimes he really wants I need this picture right now. And I'm like, but I need this picture right now. So there's definitely that, okay, I'll take a step back, I'll let you do what you want to do, and then I'll do what I need to do. But it's usually all on the same
Yeah.
page versus, you know, just hiring someone that you may have never even met before. And
naturally, you know, like, naturally I try to focus on like the big shots, like, you know, with the lighting and showcasing the whole venue and everything. And you're more, I would say,
close-ups and
close-ups, emotion.
Yeah.
So I think it's a pretty good mix
Yeah.
between the two.
Yeah, it's nice that you have those different strengths, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Things you enjoy, maybe shooting even more so than other things that
Yeah.
you can hone in on those specifics.
Yeah, and we've been doing that really well over the past year, you know, a couple of years.
Yeah.
If you don't mind me asking, as a couple in business together, do you guys have to set like clear boundaries when it comes to, okay, we're off business time now, we're at home, or, you know, even if the wedding didn't go as great as we wanted it to, or there was some conflict in getting the shots, or whatever the scenario is, that stays on the business side of a relationship.
It's crazy because the business is like almost like a part of our relationship, because we started our business
Yeah.
pretty much like at the same time as we were starting. It's pretty much ingrained. So like,
Yeah. But I would say that over the years we've learned how to separate it more. So I feel like in the beginning when we would go out on a dinner date, we'd be talking about business. And it's like, no, we're actually on a date right now, but we're still talking about business right now.
You don't have to prep for the next wedding.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, can we just be a couple right now and not business owners? But I feel like over the years, like as we've become more experienced and more veteran, I feel like we've just naturally
yeah.
learned how to kind of separate it.
A lot of it was actually the space too, because when we were starting out, you were working out of the house, so there were sacrifices that we needed to make it work. Our living room, was actually a studio.
Yeah, we didn't have a living room for 8 years.
Yeah.
We didn't even have a couch because the living room was our studio, and then our spare bedroom was also a part of my studio. So that was a little bit difficult because our living quarters was also business.
But after buying a home and getting a studio, and it really helps with that separation. So we're able to live like couple lives now too.
Yeah, yeah.
It's nice to have a living room.
Yeah,
again, right?
and we have a couch.
Yeah. We have
all the difference in the world.
we have rooms we don't know what to do with.
Yeah.
I had a question and then poof.
That happens to me all the time.
When it comes to the stress of weddings, how do you guys deal with that? Because again, the high stress environment that is, and also the high demand that the client maybe puts on you. Any tips you have on how to deal with that on the day of or lead up to? Or
That's a good question.
Yeah, that is. I would say we tried to go to bed early the previous night, so a lot of it is the prep work. So before the wedding is, make sure you eat a healthy dinner the night before the wedding. Waking up early so you have a lot of time getting to the venue. I mean, just arriving to the venue early. We like to get there anywhere from an hour to a half hour early, and that takes a lot of the stress off.
Yeah.
Prior planning prevents poor performance.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's all planning pretty much, I would say.
And other than that, just, when you're in the moment, just take a step back and breathe.
Yeah,
pretty much.
make sure you're breathing. Yeah.
I did one wedding ever. It was my cousin's wedding. He didn't even want photos. His mom said, just have your uncle and your cousin take the photos because you're going to regret not having photos of the wedding. He's like, I absolutely don't even care about the photos. So it should have been the most low stress thing ever for me.
Yeah.
I was sweating the entire time. I'm like, okay, get the cake shot, get the cake shot, get the kiss, get the kiss, get the kiss. Like those once in a lifetime moments that you're not going to say, can you do that again?
Yeah.
kind of thing.
I feel like a lot of the pressure comes from ourselves.
Yeah, and over the years we learned how to manage that too. Like I would say now we get into a flow state. So I don't even know if I'm consciously there. Like it's the flow state. I'm
just doing it.
Yeah, I just do it. It's like the camera's like an extension of my hand, and like the lens is like an extension of my eyes.
Yeah.
So it's just all natural and just works together really well.
We were talking about gear earlier, and we'll talk more about gear here in a little bit, but I think that's why a lot of professionals don't change gear very often. As a hobbyist, and a gearhead, I'm like constantly looking at the next new thing, and I'm always buying and selling stuff. And it's amazing how many professionals are still using the same gear they've used for 10 years. Wow. Because A, they don't want to make the investment, and B, they look at it as I know this camera inside and out. I know all the functionality, and I can be in the flow state and not worry about where's that button, that kind of stuff. What is it about? Is there anything about weddings in particular that aligns to a passion of yours, or is there's those I'm not sure what the right word is, but there's those intangibles about the day of being a part of that momentous day that really excites you, or that really has you aligns to why you're continuing to photograph weddings?
We like it because there's true love that we capture between these brides and these grooms, and we develop relationships. Like the day of the wedding, we develop relationships with all the family members. And what's really kind of sad is at the end of the day, it's like that's when we say, our goodbyes. It's almost like we become part of their families for the day.
It is bittersweet because it's like you feel like you're a part of it, and you finally learn everybody's names, and it's like, oh, I understand who you are, and then it's like, bye, I may never see you
I want to work with you again. And sometimes we do. Sometimes, a sister will get married or something, then we'll get to work with the same family again, and we love it.
Yeah, I would say there's connections for sure. That's amazing to have. And then just capturing people's stories and, the best day of their lives.
Freezing moments in time. It's a responsibility and it's a challenge, but it makes me feel so good. After a wedding, I'm usually pumped. I usually don't even go to sleep until 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Especially because you probably want to look at the photos right away.
Yeah, we do.
That one moment where the kid is doing this thing or doing that, and you're like, oh, I hope I got it.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, yes.
And that's what we do. As soon as we get home, we back everything up, so we have, you know, a whole bunch of copies, back it up like 3 times,
Yeah.
and, you know, look at the photos. It just excites us. And even after the wedding, we'll be in like physical pain. we'll
Like we'll be hobbling out of our car, like barely able to stand up.
My brother was a wedding photographer for a lot of years and got away from it for that very reason. You know, his back was just starting, he's like, I'm
Yeah.
not sure what the longevity is, and switched to seniors. And
Yeah.
just not, also is in Texas where there's a lot of money. So the two of those kind of worked nicely
Yeah.
hand in hand for him. So I am kind of curious about the, do a lot of wedding photographers then continue on to do family portraits and family work so they can continue to follow that family's journey? Or is that something you've thought about adding to the mix, or do you do?
So we've actually have started to do that. Yeah. So we didn't used to do families very much, but I would say as our couples are growing their families, they have been reaching out to us like, hey, like we're expecting, can we do maternity? We want family pictures. And so we've definitely branched out into that more, because it's hard not to when you build such a great relationship
Right.
with them and you're excited for them and you want to capture all their new milestones.
And just from a business perspective, I mean, you've already captured that customer. So retention is easier than finding a new customer. in
Yeah.
many ways, right?
Yep, definitely.
On the other side, I know a lot of wedding photographers also do engagement photos, and they prefer to have and try to encourage their couples to let you be their engagement photographer too, just so again, rapport building, so the day of the wedding.
Yeah.
Maybe just talk about that for a little bit.
Yeah.
It really helps with that,
Yeah.
with the rapport building, and, you know, just getting a feel for how the couples are in front of the camera.
Yeah, because like everybody, you know, a lot of people have never been in front of a professional camera before, and if they have, it's for their senior portraits. So getting in front of that camera can be scary for people, and I feel like not only does it help us learn how to pose you, because you know there's different, sometimes you have a height difference that requires a little bit of practice on our end, but it's also really nice for the couples to be able to just get comfortable in front of the camera and not feel awkward, and you know, just kind of get those nerves out of their system before the wedding day.
And we like to get them in front of the camera, but let them do their own thing too. Like capture that natural, spontaneous moments.
Yeah.
When I started doing, again, I'm a hobbyist photographer that occasionally gets paid. That's the way I like to describe it. But I think back to my senior photos. You mentioned seniors, and at the torture I must have put my senior photographer through, because I blinked every single time. I feel like my eyes were very sensitive to flash.
Yeah.
It's like, can you try hard and not blink? And I'm like, I'm trying. I look like a weirdo with my eyes. Like,
But that's common with blue eyes though, and that's something that, you know, sometimes comes up, you know, in photos. So it helps us for the wedding day too, to be able to know, okay, I understand that your eyes are a little bit more sensitive, and we had to switch it up during the engagement session, so we're going to go into the wedding day already prepared for that.
See, even I learned something new today. Well, I'm learning a lot new today, but the blue eyes thing, I never knew it was a blue eyes thing, that it was the more sensitive to flash.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You got those brown eyes, so you're good, right?
Yeah. It's the one pro to them.
Going back to the business side of photography, or wedding photography in particular, I would imagine there's some built-in benefits of being able to, you know, weddings are typically planned 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 2 years in advance. So how is that from a business perspective? And there's got to be some peace of mind in knowing that you've got income for the next 6, 8, 12, 18 months, but then there's also maybe some added stress there of having to book that far in advance, and constantly, the churn and the work of the business is always about booking 18 months from now.
Yeah.
Talk about that a little bit for me, or what are your thoughts on that security that provides, or challenges that provides unique to wedding photography?
Yeah, I guess kind of a little bit of both. It's nice to know that you have like a set schedule.
Yeah, because you can look, you know, a year to 2 years in advance, and you know
Yeah.
what's coming in. Good for forecasting. So
Yeah.
definitely, yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it would ever be applicable to us, but I would say the only thing is it kind of keeps you in one place. So like if you're ever thinking about, I want to move across the country, but I can't do that for another 2 years because I have all these weddings.
And then at some point you got to make the cut, right? Because otherwise then you're
Yeah.
perpetually stuck in.
Yeah. You gotta plan far ahead if you're gonna do something life changing.
Yeah.
But right now we're staying in the Pittsburgh area for sure.
I'm more of a long-term planner anyway, so it works out well for me because I'm not a spur-of-the-moment type of person. So.
Yeah, I added that question this morning because I was thinking about just the idea of like other niches of photography, whether it's somewhat event photography, but definitely with seniors, definitely with like mini sessions and doing stuff with families and portraits. They're a lot shorter time frame in the booking process.
Yeah.
And the churn is like more immediate, you know, and having to book stuff out. And, you know, again, there's pluses and minuses to all things in life and both of those things. But anyway, just a question that kind of popped into the mix this morning. So, what are the biggest things you wish people knew about wedding photography or would better appreciate as wedding photographers? Maybe on the client side. Let's focus on that.
I would say definitely on the social media side because you know with social media you're up against an algorithm, so every like, every share, that you have no idea how much that helps us. It helps us tremendously, especially because we have an algorithm that.
We had a client, and we've done her engagement, her wedding, family pictures, pretty much everything for her, and she always shares our posts, and we appreciate it so much. And I always thank her, but the other day she did it again, and I messaged her. I'm like, thank you so much. Like, you have no idea how much that means to us. And she responded like, I know it's not much, but hopefully it helps. And it's just like, no, like that is amazing. Like,
yeah, it's a lot.
Because you're introducing us to new people that might have never heard of us before, or you know, maybe they had thought like, oh, I need to get these pictures done, and then it's just like, here we are. So that really helps for sure. Another thing I think I would want to add to that is how much of like, and I feel like I can speak to every photographer about this, but how much of your soul goes into it. So it's not just, this is my job, I'm gonna just, you know, take some pictures. I feel like every single photo we take, it's like our entire soul is into that. Like, it's not just a job, it's a passion for sure.
Yeah, it truly is.
Yeah.
My brother's big pet peeve was always the amount of money spent on other aspects of the wedding versus the wanting to spend on the photographer. You know, so all the flowers and all everything else, he's like, all the stuff that's fleeting, the cake, it's gone. You know, after that day, pretty much gone. And the photos are the only thing that lasts forever.
Yeah, and not only that, but they get more valuable as time goes.
Because I mean, we're doing this, we're freezing moments in time, not just for the couple, but for generations after that, you know?
Yeah.
So that, you know, generations after can hopefully look back at these photos and just freezing that moment in time for them. It's the only thing you have left after a wedding is the photos.
And videos, yeah.
And the videos.
Yeah, so thinking about, you know, he was always like, okay, so you want to get the cheapest person possible, or the one that's not going to capture that effectively, or is that you look at it as a long-term investment versus, again, the flowers, the cake, or scale back some of those things and invest more in your photographer?
Definitely. Yeah, because photography, it just gets more and more valuable as time goes.
You talked about the social media factor being on the plus side of it. Is there challenges as a wedding photographer with social media now, especially with, like again, we pointed out cell phones before, and how quickly others are taking photos of the day and posting immediately? And has that changed your business model or your approach to the day, or your approach to, I mean, your photos are obviously way better than what they're going to get here.
Yeah. I mean, I would say, you know, the way social media is going, it's almost turning into like a full-time job just to be on social media, and it's like, I want to be a photographer, you know, I want to be capturing, but I understand the work that needs to go into it.
Yeah.
But there is a lot that goes into it, like the analytics and the time to post. And
Content
all that.
creation.
Which is still fun, like especially, you know, creating TikTok videos. It's still using that creative drive that we have, but I want to focus like all of my attention on my clients.
Like, are you finding that on the day of a wedding, you're pulling out the cell phone more to capture some quick little video things to make into shorts, or you're pausing mid-wedding to get some quick edits done to get up on social media to be more timely than you maybe had before because you're, I don't want to say competing with the social media posters, but...
Well, I mean, we definitely try to do behind the scenes just on our cell phones, just so we can make TikTok reels. I definitely don't want to rush our quality of photos, though. So
Or pause the whole flow of things.
Yeah. So we definitely don't edit anything like on site, like during the wedding day, just because we really like taking our time and making sure colors are as accurate as possible, and blemish removal if need be. But I understand what you're saying, though, because a lot of people are just super eager to post their wedding pictures, and most people do. And that's the good thing about having guests that use their cell phones, is you kind of have a sneak peek of your wedding day before you get the professional sneak peeks.
So let's talk a little bit about any fun experiences or interesting stories you have, because I think every wedding photographer probably has a whole list of interesting, funny, unique stories, experiences that have happened on wedding day or leading up to, or even probably engagement shoots. But have any stories to share with us?
Yeah. So this was October 4th.
2014.
And we were doing a wedding on the Gateway Clipper. And for those that don't know the Gateway Clipper, it's a boat in Pittsburgh, and ceremonies take place on the top deck outside in the middle of the river. And it was the morning of the wedding, and we were at the Sheraton taking pictures of the bride getting ready, and we look out and it's just snowing.
Oh, wow.
And it was super cold that day, like 30 degrees, very cold, and they still had the ceremony on the top deck outside with the river winds and everything else.
And it can get very windy on our rivers.
Yeah. So it was very cold. And after the ceremony, the bride and groom were like, we are freezing. We got to go down and get warm, get some drinks in us, and then we'll come back up and take, the bride and groom portraits, the family portraits. Well, in October, it gets dark earlier. So by the time they were ready and we could pull them back up, it was pitch dark out there.
You go on the top deck of the boat, just pitch black.
Just, no lights whatsoever. And so we were like, we don't have any portraits of you guys or your family, so let's just see what we can do. So on the spot, we learned how to do night photography.
Yeah.
And it was different, it was challenging, but ever since we loved it. So now we try to do night photography for every shoot that we do, weddings, engagements.
We love it. She calls me the Batman of photography.
Yeah.
I'm like when it gets dark, I'm like, oh, this is perfect.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is my zone.
Yeah.
Just from that one moment too, that just we had to adapt. We had to think on the spot.
Yeah.
And I got the camera ready. I'm like, let's try some off-camera flash. And then we have the city of Pittsburgh behind them. I'm like, let's expose the couple and the city behind them, get some gorgeous city shots at night, and it worked out. After that, the Gateway Clipper loved it so much. There was the manager Steve, who was in control of the weddings, which he was a really nice guy, and we became a part of their vendor list, which we're still on to this day. 10 years later?
Yeah. But it was just funny because a little bit of you panics a little bit because you're like, it's pitch black out here, what do we do? Like, we don't have any pictures of you guys. But, as wedding photographers, a lot of times you just have to think on your toes. And it's just funny because it really brought us a whole new passion that...
It did, yeah.
I don't know.
Sparked something.
Yeah.
So what is it about the night photos that you really like? Is it the vibe of it? Is it the aesthetic? Is it being able to capture the twinkling lights in the background, or the city's lights, and that kind of, what is it about that aspect of it?
Yeah.
I would say a lot of it is definitely the light behind them, like whether it's a whole city or if we're showcasing something like a barn. We'll even put a light behind the couple, like a kicker light that will just outline nice flash around, and it kind of gives a different look too. So like different style of the same thing, like the barn, for instance, that we did like 2 weeks ago. We took a photo during the daytime with the barn there, and then the night, and it's like a contrast pretty much, and it really tells the end of our wedding, the wedding day too.
I think in some ways too, being that the background is predominantly darker, you're really honed in on the subject.
Yeah.
And there's got to be something about that subject isolation that's appealing to that kind of style too.
It was very dramatic and really just shows like he kind of said, brings your wedding full circle, allows you to, it just allows us to be more creative too. And I feel like that's why we like it, because it's like, you get to think outside of the box a little bit and, okay, how am I going to light this up? And it's fun. It's a challenge.
I would imagine, again, the business side of things, you know, there's a lot of wedding photographers out there. There's a lot of options for clients, but then, so, you know, how do you distinguish from not only yourself being your own unique style, your own unique personalities, you know, that couple vibing with you as a couple, but also those unique little aspects where other photographers may be very intimidated by the idea of shooting at night or having to work in flash or not being a natural light photographer or something like that, where you've got more in your arsenal now, so it makes you that much more versatile or maybe more appealing to clients.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like there was a book written that was called The Purple Cow. So it was a business book. Yeah, you read it?
Yep, I have.
And it's like, do something different that really you don't see too much. So, you know, the night thing kind of just worked out, and we went with it, and we try to do it every single time.
Yeah, it's fun.
It is, yeah. And I just love it too, because my creative juices will start flowing, and I'll get these rushes of dopamine. I'm just so I'm so excited, and and then the couples feel that too. So the couples feel my excitement; they get excited. So it's just perfect.
Is there anything in particular that you encourage or discourage wedding couples to consider when their shoots, whether it's things like, I don't know, we talked jokingly about sparklers the other day, and some people were like, no, or obviously train tracks is something you can doing photographs of train tracks. Is there anything that you like encourage them to think about in advance, or discourage them to stay away from?
I don't know about stay away from, but I guess my biggest thing would just stay true to who you are and what you want. So when you're planning a wedding, a lot of people like to give you their opinions and what they would like to see, but your wedding day is just about you. So
it is.
I wouldn't feel pressure to do what other people want you to do, because then the day just becomes their day and not your day.
And just some of the things, like the unconventional things, are awesome. Like our wedding, I rode a one-wheel to our ceremony, you know, and a tux. It's just
you guys had some great rooftop shots.
In
the city.
So I guess just do your thing and stay away from feeling pressured to do what other people want you to do.
So this is a bit of a niche question, but we are in Pittsburgh. So how often do terrible towels make it into weddings? Is that a common thing, or is it
a good bit?
Yeah, we've had it a couple times.
Okay,
Yeah, we've had it a couple times.
I like it because, like, when they're coming in, like to the reception, like I'll shoot really wide so I can get them in the frame, and then get all the terrible towels like in the foreground.
That's always
and
cool.
then if I have a kicker light like all the way in the back, like it will be lighting up those terrible towels. So it looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
We like it.
How much of your photos, and I know we were going to shift away from some of this, but I keep thinking of questions here. So on wedding day, how much of the work is spontaneous, where, again, you're adjusting to the environment, you're like, oh, we didn't know that was there, that's a really cool spot, versus pre-planned out? What would you put a percentage-wise on the pre-planned versus
It's a good question.
That is a good question. I mean, even venues that we've shot at in the past that we have experience at, we still try to switch it up more. So I would say a good bit of it is spontaneous and just going with what we feel in that moment and what we see. I mean, there was one time we were working at a wedding venue that we shot at before, and I was just walking out to the car, and I just looked over and I saw this whole new perspective that I never saw before. And I'm like, we gotta shoot right there. Like, that's a perfect night shot. Yeah.
That's when you have to turn to the client too and say, like, okay, this is out of the box, but trust me.
Yeah, that's exactly what we did.
It may fail and it may be awesome, but we're gonna give it a try anyway.
Yeah.
Give it a whirl here
And we like to have like a loose game plan, not rigid, you know, kind of loose, like just a couple bullet points. Okay, we're going to do this, this, and this. Sometimes even that can change from the environment and everything.
Yeah.
So the spontaneous usually creates the best.
I mean, I would probably say, what, 80% spontaneous? You think it's that high?
Yeah.
Maybe more.
So another skill you have to have is spontaneity.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for sure.
And I can see just, you know, I've seen this through your work, but I can see it just sitting here talking to the two of you. The passion exudes through your eyes, and I can see, like, you know, you love what you do, which allows you to be spontaneous, which allows you to get good work and exciting.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we do. I mean, it's definitely a challenge, but I go home. We're in pain, but like I've come to enjoy that pain. Like that pain, I'm actually addicted to that physical pain. Believe it or not.
Pain,
like,
dehydrated, exhausted, but it's great.
And I can just, we can just sit there, review the photos, and it's the best feeling in the world. We'll spend hours just looking at them sometimes.
Probably better than the pain of doing something you don't want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A job you hate.
Yeah.
Where it's the pain of that's backbreaking work, or standing at Best Buy all day. Do you still work at Best Buy?
No, not anymore.
You already have that. Oops.
Yeah, I mean, it was an awesome job to be able to be in front of all that tech, because I was constantly, like, my job was to learn the different megapixels of cameras and all the little details. So I was like getting paid to do that. So it was all perfect. And like my advice to anyone, wanting to get out of like the 9-to-5 grind or I think that we're made in the image of the Creator, God. And I think that when people are creative, then, they feel the best.
Mm-hmm.
I like that you're kind of tapping into your true nature. You're tapping into your, they call it the soul man.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're spiritual man, your soul man, and then your physical man, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Your soul man, right? Or soul woman.
Yeah.
Correct here.
Yeah, that's okay.
Soul person, soul being. Like we're not allowed to see people anymore. I don't know. I'll have to probably edit that part out. Since we were talking about gear there for a second, that's the direction I was going to head to anyway until questions started popping in my head. Critical question here: Nikon, Canon, Fuji, Sony.
We shoot with Nikon, and we've stuck with them over the years, like you were saying earlier. It's pretty much just the same setup, the same areas where with it comes to adjusting the aperture and the shutter speed. We did transition to Nikon mirrorless. We started with Nikon DSLR, and then when Nikon mirrorless came out, there was one SD card slot in them, so I'm like, we can't switch yet, because like I like to shoot where we have automatically 2 backups on each card. And then when they did come out, we switched to Nikon the Z7 II.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. So you both shoot on Z7 IIs?
Well, she does a 6.2, yeah.
Cool.
Oh, sometimes we switch it up. Sometimes I'll take the 7.
Yeah, we switch around with it. But the 6.2, it has less megapixel, but it's better in low light. So we like to use both of them.
Mm-hmm.
So when that switch from digital SLR to mirrorless, how much of a game changer has that been for your wedding? Not only in the advancements and some of the low light stuff, which is critical for your work, but also other aspects of the technology change. How has it changed things up for you, or has it at all?
It's a huge
it
game
definitely,
changer.
yeah, it is a game changer for us, because when we're looking, through the viewfinder, you see what you get. So it allows us to be quicker and focus more on the customer service aspect. So it definitely helps in weddings for sure.
I love that aspect of mirrorless. You call it obviously wig, right? What you see is what you get.
Yeah.
And the confidence in knowing that when you're looking through the screen, if something's off or a white balance is off or your exposure's wrong, you're not way off.
Yeah.
Because you've bumped a switch or bumped a dial on a traditional digital SLR and didn't know you bumped it, or something.
It honestly, like if you think of your head as like a computer, it frees up RAM in my head to focus on. I can be more creative with it, especially when I'm on a time limit, and so it definitely helps.
How has the not only the advancement in the mirrorless as far as the screens and the cameras and the low light focus, or the low light capabilities, but the autofocus enhancements, and especially things like eye detect, when it's those critical moments at a wedding where it's a one and done, you only have one chance to get it. Has that helped out too? Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, yeah. There's and they're lighter too, because when we do when we do wedding receptions, we actually do some off-camera lighting a lot of the time. So a lot of the time, Erica's holding like a, what do you call it? They call you light bulb lady.
Yeah, I guess at a wedding she called me, "You're the light bulb lady."
I'm like, no, she's doing like a very critical part.
So what, I hold like a
a strobe,
Yeah.
on a boom pole, yeah.
Yeah. And so like I'll stand on one side of the reception while he's on the other. And it allows me to be more mobile, but being able to use the mirrorless, because it's so light and I can see the screen more, I can hold the stick while also like going into the crowd. And like if I see mom watching the first dance and she's crying, like I can still work that lighting, but then like grab that really emotional, amazing moment. So I think that's really helped us like add more emotion and be more creative during a wedding day.
I think it's probably one of the most common comments that I've seen on like the Pittsburgh photographers Facebook forum when it's people are deciding should I go mirrorless or stick with digital SLR.
Yeah.
And almost every commenter is like, especially if they're in the wedding niche, which most of the folks on there are,
Yeah.
they're like your back and your wrists and your arms and everything else will thank you.
Yes,
That
absolutely.
alone, but you know, after long days and
Yes.
the wear and tear of every weekend, you know, the cumulative effect of that, mirrorless is a game changer in that regard.
Yeah.
Another piece of gear I would recommend is actually the strap itself. We use hold fast straps. So they're like, you know, they come down here, they're like leather, and we can put 2 cameras on us at once, and if we want to be hands-free, we can be hands-free. So that's a huge game changer as well.
Yeah.
I'm always amazed at the variety of different systems and preferences and gear. It circles the entire photography niche, but you know, you've got the single strap across the body, you've got the double strap, you've got the, I prefer over my shoulders and dangling versus the little hip holsters, or,
Yeah.
you know, it locks in, or the chest holsters and it
Yeah.
snaps into there, and it's just, it blows my mind.
There's all kinds of, yeah.
Yeah.
And even going to like, I don't know if you guys ever been to like WPPI, the wedding and professional photographers
Oh, not yet.
national conference, and you walk around going, so many different options and pieces of gear, and they're
Right.
all hyping it up as the best thing, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, when we stay on the topic of gear for a minute, what are your go-to lenses?
Anything prime. We love the prime lenses. Whether it's an 85 is our main go-to,
That's my
especially
favorite.
especially with portrait wedding photography. It's just the compression, you know, the depth of field. It looks amazing. Even sometimes I like to put on a 70 to 200, which, and then like zoom, you know, stand far back, but zoom all the way in. And like what that does is the background behind the subject, it's called compression, but it just pretty much blows it up, and it provides a real interesting look.
Yeah.
And then of course, like, you know, wider lenses, we use zoom lenses like a 24 to 70
Yeah.
f2.8, which is a nice fast lens to use.
Probably a macro lens in your kit, maybe?
Yeah, definitely. Yep.
I know some wedding photographers that are definitely like prime focused, and they prefer the small, lightweight, you know, zoom with your feet, kind of, you know, have the kind of, you know, prime lens will certainly get you, you're not relying on the zoom, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
You kind of know that focal length, and you can really kind of adjust and get really good at that focal length versus having to worry about the whole range and stuff like that. So.
And especially like when it comes to the wedding ceremony, I want to be as camouflaged as possible, and like I don't want to walk up in the middle of the pew. So like I'll put on a 70 to 200 so I can reach with the zoom, but then I also have another camera on me where I'm shooting with my prime too. So it allows me to do pretty much both. So we use like a mixture between zoom lenses and prime lenses.
I've done a little bit of event photography, and it's amazing how many times people are like expecting that they have to pose, or they're like, oh, you know, I'm sorry for getting in your way. I'm like, well, I'm trying to be stealthy, and like,
Yeah.
I prefer the candid style of, you know,
Yeah.
the kind of documentarian from afar, you know, and get the true moment. You don't even know I'm there kind of vibe versus the staged photos.
Yeah.
Get together in a group, let's pop a photo,
Yeah.
kind of thing. But you always probably have to do a mix of both, I guess, probably
Yeah.
in weddings though too, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
What are the other areas of photography that we talked a little bit about seniors, we talked a little bit about starting to dabble into some family work, but where else do you spend a lot of your time? Is it on seniors, or is it in other niches, or is it purely in weddings?
I do a lot of boudoir. So I do boudoir. We've been doing more families and more maternities these days, for sure.
Like lifestyle,
Yeah.
which we like, going in the couple's house and using the natural light coming in from the windows, and it looks really nice and natural.
We've also like dabbling into kind of like more commercial shoots. So we've worked with some businesses locally do some branding shots for them. And then something else that we really enjoyed was last year we helped an author create her book cover, which was really cool.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
That was really fun.
So do you find that those niches are important, especially when we talked before about how far out you book? And yet things can still dates can get moved, cancellations can happen, hopefully a couple doesn't break up, but I'm sure it happens, kind of scenarios that then all of a sudden you have a gap and you've got to fill those gaps, or filling other voids in the week that kind of, supplement that wedding work. Is that kind of your thought process on it or approach to it, or is it just diversifying for the future, or keeps the creative juices flowing by being in other niches, or what is it?
A little bit of all of that, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't, like, we don't experience cancellations too much, but if we do, like with a wedding, then we'll try to fill the day with maybe a mini session day or something like that, which usually works pretty well. Yeah,
but it's nice to have those, because you don't book engagements or families as far out as weddings, so it's nice to have your like long-term schedule figured out, but then, throughout the month or throughout the year, you fill up like those weekdays and those evenings more, so yeah.
So as we wind down here, because I don't know how long we've been chatting, but it seems like it's been a while now. And it's been really great having this conversation, by the way. If you want more of these, by the way, make sure you like and subscribe and leave some comments as well as to what you'd like to see in future conversations like this. Maybe we want to come back and ask more in-depth questions about specific topics, or again, in other conversations I have with other photographers, what kind of content do you want to see, and what kind of niches and types of photography do you want to learn more about? Because I really enjoy having these kind of conversations. But any last tips you would give to somebody that's maybe starting their photography journey, or is a wedding photographer, or if you want to throw any last minute tips in for clients, you can do that too.
I would say try to have fun. Try to, like, I've learned the less you think and the more you get into that flow state, the better the results are. Yeah. So maybe just try to take a step back, breathe, and try to have fun. Not everything is going to be perfect. Not everything is going to go your way. Yeah. So just loosen up and a little less rigid, and just work with it and work with whatever happens.
Go with the flow. Be in the moment and just enjoy yourself. Yeah.
But have backup gear and have a backup.
Yes, of course, yes.
We learned that today. Yes. I had a lighting snafu.
Yes, backups on your backups for sure.
Yeah, you got to have that for sure.
So, last critical question: cake, cookies, or cupcakes at weddings? What's your preference?
All. Oh, I have the biggest sweet tooth. Cheesecake too, if it's there. So.
Cheesecake.
Nice.
Yeah, a lot of the brides will ask, hey, take some cookies home, because obviously you have that Pittsburgh cookie table, which is so unique, and we're filling up our things, and I would say all of it.
Yeah. You can't pass any of it up.
You're burning enough calories throughout the day.
Exactly.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter. Then we go home, upload the pictures, eat cookies.
Yeah. What do they say? Wedding carbs don't count. So we just fill up our to-go bags.
I'm now going to become a wedding photographer.
Yeah. Free cookies.
That's a top secret thing. So this is more for me, just to see if I should rebrand. So 5 times real fast, say tog talk.
Tog talk, tog talk, tog talk. They're fun.
Tog talk, tog talk, tog talk, tog talk, tog talk.
Yeah.
It's not too bad. I like it.
So it's just me getting tongue-tied then.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like it. Yeah.
Well, again, this is our first episode of Tog Talk. Yeah, we'll get it figured out. I'll get better at it, but there's a graphic. I'd like the graphic for it, so that we'll just stick with that. But again, looking forward to more chats like this. Looking forward to having conversations with a broad mix of different types of photographers as well as models. So you can also check out our Meet the Model series and see a variety of conversations we've had with local models as well. Again, appreciate the subscription as well as any comments and likes, and make sure to follow them as well. And if you're looking for great wedding photographers, I'll make sure, of course, to throw their link in the description as well as on the screen several times too. So thanks again. Have an awesome day. Thank you so much for
Thanks, guys.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
I think it was great.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Way over time.
Yeah. That's okay.
That was fun, though.